Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katarzyna Wilk. I'm a head of industry, KFF Industry Online, this time online edition. I would like to welcome you on our third online live stream event. This time we are moving, or we are not moving, we are inviting Denmark to Krakow because the Danish cinematography is a special guest of this year 60 Krakow Film Festival and KFF Industry.
Yes, good morning everybody. My name is Barbara Orlisz-Czypuła. I'm a head of program department of the festival. For many years the festival invite the chosen country to present its cinematography and to give the overview on the what's going on in the countries. And this year it's a big pleasure to have Denmark as a special guest of the festival. On this occasion, at the festival, we prepared the program of documentary films and small set of short films. And we are presenting films, the new documentary films from famous filmmakers and from those who start their career. And yesterday we opened the Danish Focus with the film Q's Barbershop, and we're going to continue presenting films all the week. It's good to know that the connection between Polish and Danish filmmakers lasts for a long time. Since many years ago, the Danish filmmakers started the education in Łódź Film School. Before the Danish Film School was created, and I'm very happy to have the Danish guests this year in the KFF industry, continuing this tradition, and we are very curious to know about what's going on in the Danish documentary film now, and to know this market, the landscape, Danish documentary landscape. Let me thank you our great partners who help us to co-organize these events: Danish Film Institute, the Danish Cultural Institute in Warsaw, and the Danish Embassy. Thank you. Enjoy the presentation and stay with us at the festival. Thank you.
Hello, god dag. My name is Małgorzata Kramek. I coordinate Focus on Denmark presentation. The presentation's main theme is co-production possibilities with Denmark. Amazing, very experienced panelists agreed to take part. We welcome Anne Mandrup from Danish Film Institute, Katrine Selström from Good Company Pictures, Kim Christiansen from DR Broadcasting Company, Malene Flindt Pedersen from Hansen and Pedersen Film and Television, Signe Sørensen from Final Cut for Real, and Sigrid Dyekjaer from Danish Documentary Production. And the moderator is Tuesten Miller. Thank you very much for agreeing to take part in this event. Thank you for smooth cooperation, for your time and kindness. And let me just say, vi inviterer jer til Focus on Denmark presentationen. På Gensen. Tue, can you take over? Thank you.
Yeah, with pleasure. And I'm afraid I'm not able to answer your kind invitation in Polish. But I would say that I think it's I cannot speak on behalf of Danish documentary, but I can say that I think it's quite an honor that you have invited the Danes to come down and show some films. And now you have, I would say, almost top of the pops, and really engaged and enthusiastic and very successful producers who can talk to whoever is out there listening to us. I hope there are many. You say that several Danish I would say, filmmakers have been educated in woods. That's right. And but we have also been helping. We have also received help from Poland way back. I'm old enough to remember. Maybe some of you will remember the name Jerzy Bosak, who came to Denmark, and he was working in, it was called something else at that time, but it was kind of Danish Film Institute as a consultant. And also I will mention that a very well-known and very dear director and cinematographer, Katja Forbot, left Poland to come with her father, who was a very well-known and successful cinematographer. Władysław Forbot is a name in Polish history. So he's no longer alive, but his daughter succeeded in making a very nice film about him, where he was also talking about his stay in Denmark, and which he didn't enjoy so much, I'm afraid, but also his time as a very active person in Polish documentary. So the idea of this is that the Danes will talk about what it takes to make co-production with Denmark, and the panelists have experience in co-production, so they can talk about that. But before we go to that, we go to the central institution for films and also for documentaries then in Denmark, namely the Danish Film Institute. And I would like to invite Ane to start to give us a little institute, and when we have heard about that, it will be a kind of starting point for asking questions to the producers. And let's make it lively, and let's do that. Please, Ane, come.
Thank you and thank you everyone at Krakow Film Festival for inviting me and for inviting the Danish documentary community. It's an honor, it's a pleasure, and I've been looking forward to it today. So I hope we'll have a good time. I've been asked to prepare a small presentation of how to co-produce with Denmark. So I'll do that, and and then you can ask me questions later on. Also, you should be able to access my my contact info at the Krakow Film Festival website. Otherwise, they'll be happy to give it out to you, so we can stay in touch beyond today. So I hope many of you will take that invitation up. So with no further ado, I think I'll start with the slides and my short presentation. And then I need someone to set up the presentation. And there we go. Can everyone see? Yes, I guess everyone can see it. I hope it works. So let me just start. So I'm Anne, I'm head of documentaries at the Danish Film Institute, and the Danish Film Institute, our main goal and our main work is to support and promote cinema, art and culture. We are funded by the Danish government, so the core or the main core of our funding comes from the Danish government. We are a government institution, and we are part of. We reside under the Danish Ministry of Culture. So, besides funding, supporting the development and the production and the distribution of films and video games, and we also run the National Archives. So we do a lot to promote the national cultural and film heritage. So we have several websites where we have already digitalized a lot of our heritage. Another part of our heritage is buried underground, up in forests in Denmark, obviously because of they can easily ignite. So, but we do a lot at the moment to digitalize our national heritage and make it available online for a broad audience. We also reside in a big building in central Copenhagen, where we run Cinematheque cinemas, where we have a cafe, a restaurant, we have film. We have, it's not like film schools, but we call it, but it's like a film school where children can come in and experience how to make movies. And on top of that, we are at the moment developing a rooftop terrace at the top of our building, so that next year people will be able to go to our rooftop terrace and watch Copenhagen from above. There's a great view with all the spires and the sea, and where you will also get introductions to films, besides all enjoying a coffee or a Coke. And there will be outdoor cinema too. So when we all can travel again and meet each other, and you can travel to Denmark, I hope that you will visit us in the center of Copenhagen and go to our building, go to the Danish Film Institute, and take in the view and the history of Danish cinema from our rooftop terrace. And do obviously call in and see if I'm there. I'll be happy to meet up with you. So, yeah. A cornerstone of our film support is what we call the commissioner scheme. That is that we employ commissioners, or as we call them, film consultants, to make the funding decisions. The film commissioners or the film consultants, they are recruited from within the film industry, so they are either editors, directors, producers, or script writers, and they take time off from their work in the industry to be part of the Danish Film Institute for up to 5 years, where they make the core funding decisions. That is, decisions based on artistic quality and artistic potential of the projects and the applications that we receive. So it's really something special. They're individual decision makers, so they get individually to decide of all the applications they get, which projects are to be funded for development and for production, and it's something that's quite special. So, and obviously it works like that. If a commissioner, film consultant, is giving you a direction for your application, you can apply another one. So you have several entries, not only one, but you can apply several others. So I'm head of the commissioner scheme for documentaries and short fiction, and we support documentaries and short fiction with artistic qualities, like I said. And as you can see from the slide, up to 25 to 30 majors a year and 4 to 6 minor co-productions per year. This is our budget. That is my department's budget per year. And it's important to stress that we support the development, we support production, and we support co-productions and marketing support. And of this 5.6 million euros per year, 337,000 euros go to minor co-production support. Another cornerstone of our film agreement is that we allocate minimum 25% of all our funding budget to films aimed at children and youth. It's a cornerstone in how we work culturally and artistically and within the Danish Film Institute. So it's all subsidies within the Danish Film Institute, whether it's for features, as fiction features, whether it's for games or whatever. It's a minimum of 25% of the budget is going to projects or films aimed at children and youth. And in my department, we've upped the percentages. So we divided our budget in three halves. So each film commissioner has a third of our budget for development and production. So it says a lot about how we weight the production of films and projects with artistic qualities aimed at youth and children. Yeah. And now for minor co-productions. It's really important that the wonderful and very experienced producers that you've just been introduced to, that they are here today, because I'll do this quick, because they are really your entrance into applying the Danish Film Institute for co-production funding. So what I'm saying now, they will all know by heart, I think, or by heart, but they will know it thoroughly because they've applied for co-production support several times with the Danish Film Institute. And they are your entry into funding from us, but they are also your entry into how knowledge about the Danish production landscape, creative talent, distribution potential, and our national broadcasters, etc. So they are, like I said, very experienced and have a lot of knowledge. So it's really important that they are present, and I'm very happy that they're taking their time off too, because they are the ones that you really want to get to know. Yeah. So, and applications must be submitted by a Danish production company, and the requirements here is that there is some sort of creative or technical participation from the Danish side in the production, and that there is a confirmed distribution. So, and we regard our funding as top financing, so we expect you to come with some financing in advance that is confirmed. Everything is looked at individually, so it's not specific percentage that is required, and it's not a specific creative or technical participation that is required. So it's each application is looked at individually, so like we always do with applications. The applications are to be addressed to one of our 3 film commissioners or film consultants, and they will evaluate the applications together with me and our producer. Yeah, and like I said, it's individual reviews of the applications. And you can see we have 3 deadlines per year, and you get a response within a month. And the evaluation is always, first and foremost, the artistic qualities of the project. I mean, artistic potential. We are an art institution, so we support, so we are very much, our focus is artistic qualities and cultural significance of the projects that we support. And that is for the film consultants to evaluate. And like I said, they are coming from within the industry, so they have they are skilled in giving artistic evaluations of projects and their potential. So they're used to working within the field of film. Then we also look at the creative and financial collaboration between the Danish and the international producer, that is you out there. We highly value co-productions and the collaboration that a co-production can ensure, both when it comes to between the producers, also between how they can inspire technically and artistically. So it's important for us that the Danish film industry is inspired by working internationally, and also that they are inspired by working with international producers. Before any questions, I'll say that we support documentaries. It can be any length. It can be short, it can be long, it can be interactive, it can be VR, AR, I mean, any form, any length. There are no requirements for that. It can also be some hybrids. They are mostly in my department instead of in the feature fiction department, because it seems that they match more how we think and how we work. So it's any length and any kind of how you express yourself technically that we can look at. So, and like I said, my contact info should be on the website. Otherwise, I know Malgosia will hand it out to you if you need it, and otherwise, so do not hesitate to get in touch or obviously ask questions here afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne, for this very clear information. And now I think hopefully questions will come in, and we will collect them and pass them on to you as well. And but let's start to ask a couple of questions to the people here in the panel. Let me start with you, Signe. First of all, are you familiar with Polish documentary?
Only a little, I have to say. I looked at what we have done so far in co-production in Final Cut. We have existed for about 10 years, and we've done more than 20 co-productions, but I'm embarrassed to say that we haven't done anything with Poland yet. We've worked with Syria, with France, with Sweden and Norway are probably the biggest countries for us, and then the US, and then we work with Canada and the UK, Germany, India and Finland so far. And that's being the minor co-producer in these projects, because we also co-produce when we are the majority producer. We often try to co-produce to raise finance for the projects we are doing abroad, and for that we have also worked with other countries like Estonia, for example. So we do a lot of international films, and we totally rely on co-production as a model.
As a model, is that from a artistic point of view? Is it from a financial point of view? Co-production. What is so interesting? I know when I was involved 20-25 years ago, we had almost no co-productions. There were two reasons. One, we actually fully financed a lot of several films, and the other thing was that there was no real international network to play on, and we always heard from, and whenever you do co-productions, it goes up much time and there are too many problems. So basically, what is your motivation, and when do you say, okay, we would like to participate?
Okay, that's two different questions. We like to co-produce because both for artistic reasons, it gives access to other talents and other both crew and directors in other countries. And when we work in other countries, we always work with local filmmakers and so on. So it very much makes sense in that way. And then, of course, it's also a way of raising finance for the films. And it's also a way of getting to know new ways of distribution and new festivals and so on, because your co-production partner in a particular country will know much more about that field than you do. So you can learn from them and they can learn from you, and we think that's extremely useful and fruitful for all of us. And the way it works in Final Cut for Real is that we get proposals from many different places, and then we look at those proposals, and when I say we, it means me and my three producer colleagues, Anne Künke and Monica Hellström and Heidi Lise Christiansen. And then before each deadline, we have to look at the first main thing we have to look at is, can we get distribution for this film in Denmark? Because if we can't, then it's impossible for us to apply to the DFI. So that's always a requirement. And then the next thing is just a second. Please go around the other way. Sorry, there is an access to an editing room through my office, so that's why I had to do that. Yeah. So we sit down and we look at these proposals that come in, and the best thing is if they have both a treatment and a pilot and a budget and a finance plan and so on. And then we look at, is this something that where we feel we can contribute? Is there enough time for us to be able to get the distribution in place and get the and also get the application in place? And do the people who want to co-produce, do they really want a Danish contribution to this film? And also, do they want us involved? When we get involved in projects, we get often very deeply involved. We also give comments to the edits, and we may have opinions about all kinds of aspects of the production. So if you want to work with us, you should want that kind of input. And if you don't, that's totally fine, but then it's maybe not us. So that's how we work.
Just one little piece of information that you could pass on. You said that we need to secure distribution in Denmark. What do you mean by that?
I mean that
is that television or theaters or what?
It can be in cinemas. It's very seldom that we get a letter of commitment from a Danish cinema to show a film in such an early stage as it is when when we're about to consider applying for co-production support. So that's very special when that happens. So most often it's getting a letter of commitment from either DR, the Danish public service broadcaster, or TV2, the other broadcaster that has a public service obligation. But it's most often DR, because TV2 is very focused on Denmark and Danish issues.
Good, thank you. Let's go to Kim Christiansen from DR, as you were mentioning.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Yeah. So I looked at my previous records. And the last film we anticipated in a Polish production was the film At the Edge of Russia by Mikhail Marczak from 2010. I think it was a staged documentary. Nevertheless, it was a film that we took in for broadcast and world sales. I'm representing the commercial arm of DR. I'm head of international documentaries for sales, DR Sales. but I work very close with the whole program committee for DR, and there are, you could say, 2 ways in to work with DR, and the first and the most common, and which we will discuss a lot today, will be as the minor co-production through the Danish Film Institute, where you don't have to try and access DR. You should access Danish producer, and they will take it via the Danish Film Institute to us. But there's always a way where you can address us directly. For instance, I am always open to read proposals for anything internationally. But if you want to address us, you should know that we are looking for more kind of TV documentaries. We are not looking for the big artistic documentaries. If you apply for just the pre-sale and maybe some kind of engagement with our international sales. So in that respect, I'm also a little bit sad that we haven't worked so much together with the Polish documentaries. But and I also am a little sad that we cannot meet together in Krakow, because if we don't have a relationship, I think it's always very important that we sit down and talk to each other, especially talk to the director and hear her or his sort of artistic point of views. That said, again, we are always open to read treatments and watch promos. So, if you want to do the co-production, go to some of the great producers that are here at this panel. They are all excellent people. I work with all of them, and if you are looking for an LOC for broadcast or international sales, and you think you don't have time for the big co-production thing, then there's always a possibility to come by me. Yeah.
Thank you, Kim. Could you mention 1 or 2 of the films that you have been involved in from DR side, and who have the producers available in this panel?
Yes, we have done False Confessions with Katrine, which I think has now gone to a lot of places around the world. And Sigrid and I have a long-lasting relationship with a lot of films, which all go back some years.
But that's okay.
Remind me. yeah, but all of them, yes.
All of them, okay. So let's go to Katrine and hear about her experiences with co-productions.
Yes, I also made a little list. I'm not as experienced as the other ladies on the panel. We're a production company that has existed for 6 years now. In the beginning, the first years, it was only me as a producer. Now we are 2. There's also Patricia Drati as a producer. And we've done a few minor co-productions, but I mean, attempted to do more. But some of the countries we've been acting as minor co-producers on are Egypt and Sweden and Lebanon and South Korea. And then, of course, we've also done some co-productions where we're minor. the film I have now at the festival, Photographer of War, was done as a Danish-Finnish co-production. And that's sort of actually, to be honest, the first co-production where I've worked as you would normally call a co-production, where you have the two film institutes involved and different funds and creative input and creative crew in the other country. I've done some other films where we've worked very internationally with co-producers, but not with their film institutes involved, but where they got like a finder's fee from the national broadcaster, for example, Germany and Germany mostly actually. And then I worked quite closely with a US producer, but that was more like a consultative role they had. They didn't raise any money for us.
Are you sitting in the company waiting for something to come in, or are you also searching when you go out, when it's possible to travel, etc.? Meeting people and say, "Oh, should we work together?"
Yeah,
I suppose there's of chemistry in this also, huh?
Absolutely. I think all the co-productions or attempts of co-production, because sometimes, as the others have said, it's difficult to find the Danish distribution, and then it's sort of fruitless, and then you don't go any further. But I think all the projects I've been interested in, that's been sort of by chance. But normally I've met the producer or the director at some event, at a festival or at a pitching workshop, and I normally it has to take that I both like the people and I like the project, and then of course they should be in need of some financing. And sometimes it's obvious that it could be Denmark, but I think very often it's a matter of a producer lacking some financing, and then if you, as you say, you have a good chemistry and you really like the project, then that's the starting point of trying to do the co-production for me. Of course, we also get applications from people who find us online or have seen a film at a festival. But honestly, I don't think I ever picked up a project like that, at least not yet. It's difficult if you don't know the people behind a project, I think, to step in. So it's normally me meeting some people, and then at that point or later on, they'll get to me with a proposal.
For instance, this Danish-Finnish, I mean, how did you divide the role? That would be interesting, because now Anne was talking about the creative input, but it could also be more technical input. So you don't have to involve so many people, and for instance, that the post-production was done in your country, or how is it?
Yeah. For Photographer of War, I was the major producer, and Sonja Lindin from Avanton in Finland was the minor, and she raised financing from different funds in Finland, from YLE, of course, and from the Finnish Film Institute and from AVEC, and then we did all the sound design and mixing in Finland. So that was the creative input from Finland, and that was a film that took quite a long time to make. So she was, for many months, maybe half years or years, she was sort of a bit standby, because she easily got the money. And then when we finally had a rough cut, she stepped in and she looked at it and she gave us notes, and then we moved on to the sound design, and my director went to Finland to work with the sound designer for some short trips. And that was great, and he did a great job, so we were all really happy about it.
I don't think that Anne was mentioning that, but is there a maximum of funding that you can get from the Danish Film Institute, Anne? Is it that you can't, I suppose, there's nothing called fully financed any longer from the Danish Film Institute, so what is the maximum you can get?
Yeah, there isn't. I'm just looking at my, just 1 second. I mean, we don't have fixed amounts. when you apply. So you apply for the amount you've seen fit, but around like 65 to 70,000 euros is the maximum. That takes a really large Danish spend, normally a Danish editor full-time on a project, for instance, or Danish editor half-time and sound design in Denmark. So that is like our glass ceiling for support. So that's like between around 65,000 euros would be the maximum, and then down from there. And one thing I didn't mention, which is I think important, is that our funding is non-recoupable. Perhaps it was in the slide, but I didn't mention it. So it's a grant, like also when we support the major projects in my department, you don't refund the Danish Film Institute, or at least you don't refund my department. If you do a very successful fiction feature that sells millions and millions of tickets, you do refund eventually, but not when it comes to documentaries and short fiction and minor co-production. So it's a grant. Yes.
The most Danish name is Jonsson and Pedersen. Malene. Does that mean that you are very much focused on making films on Danish themes, or is it because you and your husband has Jonsson and Pedersen?
Yes,
I'm sure there must be here on Bornholm, a company called Jonsson and Pedersen.
Yeah, well, it's
very
a very
nice.
well. I'm called Pedersen, and my husband is called Jonsson, and that is Jonsson and Pedersen. And he's a director. I'm a producer. But it's a very convenient name because everybody knows that we come from Scandinavia. So that's the thought about it. And we have last 5 and 6 years, we have been doing more and more co-productions, and we really like to do it. And until now, we have only had really fantastic and giving cooperations with production companies in other countries. And of course, we have worked, like I think most of us, a lot with Norway, Sweden and Finland and Iceland. And that's also because they have the same system as we have. So when you go to other countries, then sometimes it can be more difficult. But I also made a list. I actually made quite a lot of children and youth co-productions. I really love to see an ambitious documentary for children, because there are not so many of them with a high budget and very ambitious made. So I made Kids Cup is in production right now with Norway, and I also co-produced Tongue Cutter also with Norway, with me as a minor and them as a major. And right now I've just co-produced Colombia in My Arms, that won in Göteborg, with the Finnish company called Fimimo, and The Escape with Rise and Shine in Germany. So these are the films that I were a minor co-producer in. And then right now, Fat Front, that is screened in Krakow Film Festival. It's about young, fat Scandinavian women that are tired of being ashamed of their body. It was obvious to make a co-production with Norway and Sweden, because the protagonists are from Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. I also made, with me as a major, Humanity on Trial with Greece and Finland, Good Things Await with Iceland, Queen of Heart with Finland, and right now I just made 2 co-production agreement with 2 films I have in production, Into the Ice with Rise and Shine in Germany, and a film called Compassion on Prescription, also with a German company. So I really enjoy it.
Okay, so these two last ones have been agreed upon by the film consultant and or DR, or how is that?
Well, the two last one, I'm the major producer, so I got production support from DFI and from TV2, actually, both of them. And then now Rise and Shine has found money in Germany at NDR Arte for me for the production, and the other one is Neue Fabrik Cellulite. They are supplying now for a regional fund in Germany. So, and yeah, I'll put the editing and the sound in the two countries.
And what does this mean in practice? Does it mean a lot of traveling, or is it a lot of Skype conversations? Is how? I mean, Germany is I mean, to go for a German production company to go to Arte, I mean, is also something. Unless you are experienced like Rise and Shine, I mean, it's not easy, huh?
Yeah, exactly. I would never try to sell something to Germany, just me, because my experience is that the German television wants the documentaries told in a special way, and so it's easier when it's the German production company that delivers the documentary to them, and they also are better at closing the deals, and because the commissioning editors at the TV channels are more trusting the German producers. So I think that's a good way to go. And also Germany is a huge market, and then the German co-producer can bring the film out. They have a good educational market. They have, it's 4 times bigger than the Scandinavian market. So if you will have your film in the cinema, they can do it much better for you. So there's a lot of reasons to get a German producer on board, I think. Yeah. But of course, it's a matter of trust, because when I find a co-producer, you have to find someone that you trust has the same ambition and also the same level of contact, that they are actually able to sell the film and to fund the film. So that's really a trust issue. But I can give you a good example of how you can go about it, because I just pitched the last project, Compassion on Prescription, on CPH Doc's online version. And actually we were contacted afterwards by Neue Celluloid Fabrik in Leipzig. We didn't know them, and they just had seen our trailer, and they just loved the project. And then we had 2 Skype meetings, and I saw some of the films they had produced. And now we are having a co-production production agreement together. So that was really very nice to have someone come on board and just loving your project and wanting to give fund it and to give bring it out for distribution. Because I think a lot of us documentary filmmakers, we're not in it for the money, because then we would choose something else to do. We also here with a message, with something important to say. So of course we're also looking for the message of the film to get out.
Good. Sounds very good. And Signe? No, not Signe. So Sigrid, please. You are there. Sigrid, first question I would like to ask you is, because we have been reading and we have been supporting one way or the other. How is Dr. Amani?
She's doing good. She is right now in Germany.
She's in Germany.
She's in Berlin with her husband, and she is happy because she is in the process of getting asylum. And that's the first step for her to start a new life in a way. Of course, she still feels very sad to what's going on in Syria, and she has a lot of bad conscience because she feels she can't help her Syrian people as much as she really wants to. It seems, if you have seen the film The Cave, it seems absurd that she is actually not very happy to have left the cave. She still feels that it's the place where she had the best people she was working with, and they were doing things every day that made so much sense to the people in Syria. And so it was with great devastation that she actually left the cave system, the cave hospital. But she is here as a witness and to tell what has been going on, and has the proof of the chemical attacks that actually happened. So for justice, she is here and wants to give out her thoughts and vision about what has been going on in Syria.
As is the director I read in Danish newspaper a couple of days ago. Pedersen is also now standing in front of I don't know what they call it, but it's like in
He's in court.
He's in court, yeah, but he's not in.
And he is witnessing against the perpetrator who violently perpetrated him in the prisons, in Assad's prison in Syria. And he is the head witness in this case.
And this trial is going on where?
It's going on in Berlin. The guy, the man in charge of the prison and in charge of all the violence in the prison and all the punishments in the prison, he sought asylum, weirdly enough, in Berlin. And one day, some of the ex-prisoners who was now in Berlin in asylum saw him in the streets in Berlin and told the police in Germany that actually it was the perpetrator and the leader of the prison that was in Berlin and had sought asylum. So now that guy is in prison and there's a big court case against him in Berlin.
So with a big understatement, I mean, the Cave is a film where you have really been committed to the case and to the characters and so on, and the film which has made an impact. Is that what is standing in your production company? The film has to make an impact. Is that kind of film that you are looking for, co-productions?
I think we're looking for many different films. I think we're looking for many different films, and we're especially looking for director-driven films and directors with visions. So for us, there isn't sort of like we only do political films or we only do journalistic films, or, you know, we do a lot of different films. If you go to Danish Documentary's webpage, you'll see there's like any kind of film there. But what makes them all be part of Danish Documentary is that they are director-driven films. It's not only about a character or only about a subject. It's also how the director relates to that subject or relates to that story. It doesn't have to be personal in the sense that the director has to be part of the story or anything, but there has to be a very strong directorial vision behind the film. We don't want to repeat ourselves too much. You know, sometimes people call me and say, oh, you've done a film called The Newsroom about a newspaper in Denmark. I'm doing another film about a newspaper in another country. And you seem to be the perfect company. But we actually like not to repeat ourselves too much. So if we've done a film about a specific subject or in a specific place, we might actually say no to doing a new film about that subject, just for the matter that it's too much the same we have already done. We have done a lot of co-productions over the years, and I am finishing a film right now by Guy Davidi, who did a film called 5 Broken Cameras, and this new film is called Senseless. And it is a very complicated co-production. It's a co-production between Israel, Hila Medallia, and the film is shot in Israel, so of course that's a very natural co-producing possibility. And it's a co-production with Finland and with Iceland. So we are actually a 4-country co-production. And I also did another very huge film called Aquarella by Viktor Kosakovsky, and we were also a 4-country co-production on that film. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing co-productions if you are sort of a beginner in the field of producing, because it is really a lot of extra work, and it's sometimes very complicated to figure out the money structure and figure out the right structure and elements like that. And it's also sometimes hard because, you know, all different countries, we have a collaboration with our local broadcaster or our local distributor, and we have a responsibility towards them. And once you begin to be a 2-country co-production, 3 or 4-country co-production, everybody has relationships that they need to protect somehow. And if you're not very upfront with that from the beginning, it can get to very complicated cases. I've actually hired sometimes a lawyer who sort of run the co-production. I've worked with Ulrich Seidel, and he works with a company called the production company from France, from Paris, and they structure his productions and his co-productions. I've also worked with a German guy called Frank, who is extremely well at sort of doing the co-production structure and creating the workflow, and also the deeper understanding of what comes first and who is where and why and all that. So I think if you go over like a 2 or 3 country co-production, it might be a good idea to actually hire somebody to run your co-production. Otherwise, there's a big tendency that you as a producer, you have all your head into just running the co-production instead of also being partner on the film creatively for the director. So that's just a recommendation. Of Poland, I've worked with...
Just a moment, I would say.
Yes,
Now,
sorry?
now there are some directors sitting in Poland
Yes.
who have, they think, I am a creative documentary director. I have a directorial vision.
Yeah.
Shall I just, and I like what you say, so why you must help me. What shall I do? How do I
Send me your idea and send me some material and describe to me, you know, why you are making this film, and also who are you making it for, who's going to watch your film, and why is this film so important for you. I think those are the first 3 questions I would always ask a director. I do find, though, that the Polish tradition is very rich, and since I also work a lot with Doc Incubator, I've met a lot of Polish directors through Doc Incubator, and they have a very, very strong tradition. They have a very beautiful cinematography, which I always enjoy. They are actually quite strong in the very directorial, director-driven films. So I think for Poland, this is a more natural way to actually do films. I've worked with a very powerful director from Poland, Hanna Polak, and we did a film called Something Better to Come. It took 14 years for her to make this film, but it was not a worse film, even though it took 14 years. I was only part of the journey for the last 3 years of the film's life. But I think, you know, through her and also through the other encounters I've had on Doc Incubator, and also being a very big supporter of both Krakow Film Festival, but also of Arthur Libert's festival, Docs Against Humanity, is that what it's called now?
Gravity.
Gravity, yes. I have a deep passion for Polish films and Polish film directors. I think sometimes there is something about our traditions that can clash. And that's what I'm always super aware of when I go into co-productions, is do we, a little bit like Malene said, do we have the same understanding of what level we are at when it comes to film making? Is it the number 2, 3, 4, 5 film of the director? Can I see a clear sort of method when I watch the director's previous works? Do I see that the director is more like a film collector than a film director? Meaning the director is collecting a lot of material and being very open to which story he or she is going to tell? Or is the film sort of directed so the director handpicks scenes and sequences when they shoot because they actually have a very specific vision? And those are just two very different traditions. And I think as a producer, the main job is really to try and investigate what sort of tradition do you come from, and does that tradition fit with either me or my company. And we've not had a lot of successful co-productions, to be very honest, because we do come with very different traditions. The most successful one has been Ulrich Seidel with Safari, because he's very clear in his vision. You know what you're getting. You know how to collaborate with him because it's very clear what he does. Another one was Viktor Kosakovsky, Aquarella, because he's extremely clear in what he's doing. So that has been a very successful co-production as well, where we are the minor and they are the major. I think some of our own productions where we are the major and we have a lot of other minor partners, I really try and spend a lot of time to explain to my co-producers, how does this director work specifically? Like, is it a director who likes to edit himself? Or she? Is it a director who doesn't want to edit, but who shot the full film themselves? Or is it a director who is into every little detail about music and sound? And so I think the more clear you can be about working methods, the more successful co-productions you can actually get. And I think, that's time that's important to spend. And that's why I prefer to co-produce with co-producers, not with directors who direct and produce their own films, but with professional producers. And I prefer to do it with producers I know very well, or I have been meeting at festivals and had dinners with, or has had fun with, and I know we like to spend time with each other. Because you are going to spend time with each other and you need to like each other. Otherwise, the productions can be quite tough.
Can I come back
So
to you?
personal relations is important.
And that will happen when everything is going back to maybe not normal, but to whatever it can be. Signe, can I come to you again?
Yep.
My question is very simple. I'm looking at this panel. There's so many films being mentioned, co-productions, etc. And Anna is also welcome to answer. Why is it such a good time for Danish documentary? What is it? Where does it come from? Where did you guys be? Were you educated at the Danish Film School, or did you do it by learning by doing, Signe? What do you think?
No, I think there are many backgrounds in Danish documentary, and that diversity is maybe also part of one of the reasons why there has been successful Danish films, and maybe also the international outlook, the collaborations that we have been lucky to have. And then about 12 years ago, I think it was, we had Copenhagen Docs became a major force in Danish documentary in the whole scene, and that has of course helped as well. But in Denmark, the directors come from both the Danish Film School, which is a very strong film school and has a long and strong tradition. But in recent years, they also come from a self-made film school called Super 16, and some come from universities, and some are journalists and so on. So it's quite a broad range. And I think for producers, many come from other university, film and media studies. 3 of my colleagues come from that. I come from political science and economics studies, so that's a different path. But I think one of the nice things about the film industry in general is that it is an open industry, and I've met producers who have been all sorts of had other educations and other jobs in the past, and I think that's really interesting when you meet someone who's had that kind of outlook on things.
And
so I think there are many reasons.
To you,
Sorry?
and I will to the other a question. One more question. Is there any production of yours which is now stuck because of Corona?
We have two productions, that are stuck. One where Simon Le Ring-Villemont, the director who did The Distant Barking of Dogs, is doing a new production together with his producer Monica Hellström in Ukraine, and we haven't been able to film, but we hope that things will open up within the next 2 weeks, and then he will be able to film there again. And then we have another production by director Jon Bang-Carlsen, who's filming in the US, and that's a lot more complicated because it's very close to the Navajo Nation, which is one of the hardest hit areas at the moment. So with that film, we don't know yet when we would be able to film.
So that is hurting your economy.
Sure, but compared to the fiction people, I think we are in a much better place. I think if there was ever a time where it's a good thing to be a small company that does, documentary films that takes about 3 years in average to do, I think it's now compared to doing fiction. And we have been lucky to have a number of films that we just delivered before the Corona crisis hit, and also a number of films in editing. So we have been able to carry on with a lot of projects as well. So I think we will feel it more in about half a year, depending on what we manage to start now, and depending on for how long the borders are closed and for how long the cinemas and festivals are under these restrictions.
Maybe you team up with a Polish company. Poland and Ukraine. I mean, they are very supportive of what is happening in Katrine. Do you have the same problems? Corona problems?
Yeah, but again, it hasn't amounted to that big problems. Actually, I have a few. Most of the films I'm working on right now was actually in post-productions, and that has just continued, maybe at a slower pace than before, because everybody has to reorganize themselves and take care of the kids at the same time and so on. But we've been able to just be a bit delayed, and naturally that we were supposed to premiere at a festival that was cancelled, so we have more time. So it hasn't been that problematic. Actually, we haven't got any shootings going on abroad right now. We've have a few in Denmark, and that was just cancelled for some weeks, and then we could continue. So again, it's not that problematic. Again, we want to do a new film in the United States, and that of course seems a bit complicated right now. But so as Signe said, it might be later on that we sort of hit new problems with projects that we would normally have developed a little bit further now. But overall, it's okay, no problem.
And are you from the Danish Film School?
Me? No, I'm from Film and Media Science. I studied Film and Media Science from the university, so no.
Okay, so there are many academics.
I don't hear you too.
Hello?
Only a few of your words.
Hello?
Yes.
I was just and what is your quick response on
Hi, Tua, could you reset your connection so we could have you back with us? It looks like something went wrong there, but hopefully just for a short moment. So far it's been going very nice, great discussion, really interesting, and looking forward to to more. Oh, Tua, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I think we can hear you. Let's wait one moment. We ask for your patience. Hopefully it will last
okay.
1 or 2 minutes and we can continue.
You know how many people are
Tua, you have to reload the page so we can have you back with us. It seems to be the solution. Please try to reload and we'll see if it helps. Just one moment, please.
Is there a Q&A session we could start?
Yes, actually, I've just read one a moment ago about if it's a journal. I don't know. Maybe you can answer. Like I will not pick one person. Just a general question which I received. What are there any famous themes that films should have to be more likely to be considered for co-production with Denmark? Is there like you know what this means, or it just Sigrid, you want to answer?
I mean, there's no rule that you have to be very famous or you have to have a very famous team. But of course, you have to consider what it is you actually want to do with Denmark. Like, why are you interested in co-producing with Denmark? Do you want a Danish editor? Do you want a Danish cinematographer? Or is there a specific composer you want to work with? Or do the sound design with Danish sound designers? I think it is the awareness of why you want to co-produce and what you want to gain from it. And then, of course, it's about competition. So you are in a competition when you apply with some of the other companies that also have co-productions. So do you have like a very big co-production or a smaller one? For instance, Lauren Greenfeld on The Kingmaker, she had a very big co-production. She had hired a Danish cinematographer, a Danish editor, and wanted to do the sound with a Danish sound designer. So of course that's a big Danish co-production, and luckily the consultant liked the film a lot. But of course at some point they will also look at what is the connection with Denmark and why should it be a Danish co-production? What makes sense? Måske du bare kan tage ordet, Signe.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very important that the
Signe, please continue.
co-production. Yeah, I think it's important that it's both the producer and the director who wants to co-produce. Because if it's only the producer for financial reasons, it won't work. It has to be that the director is also keen on working with other people than maybe they normally work with. If the director decides, actually, I really want to work with my normal cinematographer who's also from my own country, and I want to work with my normal editor, and I don't want another composer, then you can't co-produce, because a part of the requirement is that you work with creative people in the other country. So the director really has to be open for that and think that that will contribute something new and interesting to his or her film. Otherwise, it's trying to get a puzzle to fit that will never fit.
And I just want to say, like Sigrid said, that it's a huge composition, because it's only 6 co-produced productions a year from the Danish Film Institute. So you are really, well, it's very difficult to get your project through.
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to make sure Tua is with us now, or no? No. Well, I think if we are facing troubles now and we try to have him back, maybe it's best if we just stop now and thank you for being with us.
Unless there's other questions.
Well, I've checked like 5 minutes ago, and nothing more came that what was before. So and now I don't have a possibility to check, but I think we're all good, because you discussed many issues so so perfectly that I think everything was well understood, and yeah, everything was clear and very interesting. So thank you so much for attending. Thank you for your time and elaborated speeches for the presentation. It's been really amazing, and yes, all the best from Krakow, from the 60th Krakow Film Festival. And I hope to see you in Krakow, and future editions of the festival would be great. And we're very happy that Denmark is on our focus this year. It's a brilliant country and brilliant cinematography. So that's all for now. Thank you very much, and enjoy our other events online. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Yeah.